Hello everyone and welcome back to this channel. Today I'm going to bring a little bit of fun to you and let's react to some memes about deaf people. This is a requested video, so I hope those of you that requested it will watch this and enjoy it. So what I'm gonna do is first, I think I'm gonna Google like deaf memes about deaf people, and see the memes that hearing people have made, and we'll answer some questions that they bring up. And then I'm going to go to the Deaf Memes Twitter, which is a deaf run Twitter account, and they make deaf memes, jokes about deaf people, and jokes about hearing people. If you like reaction videos, I've done others in the past, and you can check out the playlist right here. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads that are reaction videos or otherwise. And last but not least, be sure to pledge on Patreon or join the channel down below to support my content if you would like. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the Googling one first, and I guess I'm gonna put deaf memes. When the airline lady finds out you're deaf and offers you a wheelchair. Yeah, that does happen a lot, and it's something that still doesn't make sense to me. I found out that airlines or the hospitality industry, when you're in school, they pretty much give the same, if a disabled person is coming to you, just give them a wheelchair and that's it. Somebody told me that. Somebody who studies this and majors in this told me this, and I thought that was very strange. I'm not always offered a wheelchair, but sometimes I am, and now that my chronic pain is worse, my chronic pain and fatigue, I actually do use it, because deafness is not my only disability. I've come to be less like, oh my god, about it just because there are deaf people with multiple disabilities, but I do still find it a little weird, kind of funny that everyone just automatically offers that if you just say that you're deaf. Or like if you're asking for anything else, but they'll still offer you that wheelchair, and I'm like, no, save that for somebody else, you know? Like, when the deaf kids are roasting you in sign language so you turn off the lights. Yeah. That's basically what you can do. It's like when I did the Trevor Noah reaction video and he made the joke about how like people were covering their eyes so they wouldn't have to see what was being said or whatever. Yeah, that's a thing. I can't hear you, so I'll just laugh and hope it wasn't a question. 100%, 1000% relatable. I'm trying to move past the bluffing because it comes back to bite you in the ass like real hard sometimes. Or not only like you also don't only hope that it's just a question, but also like imagine if somebody came to you with something serious to say, like somebody died, and you laugh because you don't know what else to do. That's just bad, real bad. When you can't hear what someone says and they repeat it 98 times and you're still like, relatable. Me, I'm deaf. Person. Oh, okay. Person. Still continues to speak at light speed. Me, trying to lip read. Yeah. Also, if you tell somebody that you're deaf and you also like ask them to write it down or something, and they'll still just continue to talk at light speed, and you're like, way too common. Way too common. And here's the most famous one. When people yawn, do deaf people think they are screaming? This made the rounds on Tumblr so much, and I just wanna, let's just go over the differences between yawning and screaming, shall we? Roll clip. Yeah, we know. When people learn to sign for the first time, A-E-I-O-U. We can't knock people who are trying even if they, you know, only know how to fingerspell. Like when my boyfriend and I went on our very first date together, he knew the alphabet. You can't knock them. It's the effort, you know, it's the very first time, you know, you can't knock them. But I chuckled, okay? Wow, you speak really well for a deaf person. Boy, do I relate to that. It's always like a backhanded compliment. You know, it makes people really uncomfortable. I know some people really don't mind when people say that, and they do take it as a compliment because it may be like a oral deaf person who is strictly oral and has worked very hard on their speech, and so, you know, they might accept that as a compliment, and that's fine. But for me and a lot of others, it just sounds like very much of a backhanded compliment, especially if it was someone else. If I had a deaf friend who doesn't speak as well as I do have speaking privilege. I acknowledge that. I've always acknowledged it. And if they're like right beside me, right, and somebody were to say that to me, like the other person might feel not so great about that. And it's so uncomfortable. Thank you for shouting at me, said no deaf person ever. Yeah, shouting doesn't really do any good. Makes it harder to understand you. I know my boyfriend will talk a lot louder in this ear because it's my better ear, but like screaming at me from across the room or something probably isn't gonna do anything. If you want to shout at me to get my attention, then okay. Combined with like stomping on something, that's fine. But if strangers are shouting at me, it just doesn't really work. Don't do that. Definitely don't do it in public because that's really embarrassing. You expect me to lip read? Why don't you learn sign language? Relatable. Every time I come near a hearing person, especially strangers, they're always like, oh, so can you lip read? I'm like, no. Like, there's always that common misconception that everybody lip reads and those that can lip read everything when scientific evidence shows that only 30 to 40% of the English language, I don't know about any other languages, but only 30 to 40% of the English language can really be read on the lips, and that is also combined with like no background noise and good lighting and things like that. It is a little bit frustrating, and if one person doesn't know sign language, then like just middle ground and write down or type it down. And if it's somebody that you know regularly, with families and with friends, and I mean like friends that you see all the time, not like maybe a friend you see like once a year, right? If it's somebody you're gonna be with for a while, whether it's family or significant others, and sign language isn't really coming into the picture, it is a very big struggle. How do deaf people think? Does sign language just pop up in their head? Yes and no? I do think this is a little bit of a silly question because it's like, what makes you think deaf people aren't capable of thinking, right? But yeah, I know some people think, and if they have a spoken language that they know, they'll think in the spoken language, or there's a sign language, they'll think in sign language. I do both. Alright, let's move on to the Twitter. I can go over Google ones in another video, but for time's sake, let's move on to the Deaf Memes Twitter. This is deafmemes.exe, and I'll put a link down below if you want to follow them. They have a lot of tweets now, so we're gonna just see what comes. I love this one. Waiting for your deaf friend to open the damn door because there's no doorbell strobe light installed. Yo, I am here. Hello? I'm someone who doesn't have a doorbell. I don't have a strobe light doorbell. I don't have a Ring doorbell. I lost half of it and now I just don't have it anymore, and I never got it approved to install it. So I've had people come by and they'll text me that they're here, but I don't answer because sometimes my phone flash doesn't go off and I might be doing something else. The time that they were going to arrive was underestimated. So it happens. I think I left one friend standing for a good 15 minutes before I realized. When you find out your insurance doesn't cover hearing aids and you're gonna pay out of pocket, I'm never gonna financially recover from this. Yeah, hearing aids for the most part. I think it really depends on insurance, but I think more often than not, hearing aids are not covered by insurance, where cochlear implants tend to be, because somehow insurance considers hearing aids cosmetic procedures and cochlear implants are not cosmetic procedures, which cochlear implants are not cosmetic procedures, obviously, but hearing aids also are not cosmetic procedures because they're not there to look pretty. Unless you bling them out, then they can look awesome. But my point is that they're not there as fashion glasses or earrings or makeup. It's a medical tool, but insurance is nonsensical. Yeah, and they can be anywhere for a single pair, a couple thousand to past the 10,000s. It's so strange. I have a video that I did with Amanda McDonough. I'll have that linked up down below if you want to watch, because she has experience with that. Me walking up without making a noise, hearing people. Relatable. I think in the past I was better at being sneaky, but now that my hearing has gotten worse, I am louder than I used to be. When I think I'm very, very quiet, I'm not. But I have been successful at scaring hearing people because I came up to them and tried to tap them on the shoulder and didn't realize, so sorry. Every deaf person's worst enemy, and it's a photo of the sink running water. I related. If you follow me on Twitter, you know about this. My toilet downstairs that I rarely used was running constantly for a good like 2 days before I realized, and that was not a pretty water bill. And yeah, thankfully I got it knocked down a little bit, but there was a story about a woman, I think in either Washington or Oregon, who had to pay thousands of dollars for her water bill because her toilet was running for like ever. And I wish there was some sort of technology or something that would let deaf people know that something's running, especially a toilet if it's one that you don't really use a lot. Deaf, hearing people, sounds too rude. Hearing impairment, and the hearing people clap, clap, clap. I have noticed this. I have seen this, and I don't understand it. It's one thing if they didn't know about it, and then they're like, hey, isn't that, you just tell them. But then when deaf people are like, no, actually, we don't like this, but then everybody insists, and they're like, no, my book said this, and they're like written by hearing people like ages ago, and I don't know, it's always been really weird. Some deaf people don't care, they'll use hearing impaired, but yeah, I used to use hearing impaired a lot, but then as years went by, I was like, I don't really like the sound of that word. When you are eating dinner with your hearing parents, but they get into an intense argument, and you have no idea what they are saying. Parents, other family members, friends, every group of hearing people on the planet, what's up dinner table syndrome? And even when you get like a gist of what's happening, you're still lost. And my favorite one to wrap this up, because I have a story about this. Deaf gain means you can eat while talking. Hearing person is having a ice cream in her mouth and trying to talk, and it's not really working because she'll be afraid that she spits it out. And then you got the deaf man who has the ice cream in his mouth, but then he's using his hands to, well, clap. But the point is that, you can use your hands to talk. Yeah. You remember I was at, last year at Cambridge for the MIT program, and we had taco night, and my interpreter was there. I was the only deaf person. No, I wasn't. There was another deaf person there, but she speaks only. She doesn't sign. I was talking to a couple of my classmates. They're all talking. They're trying to eat and talk at the same time, and it's not really working. But me, at some point, well, okay, tacos and burritos are not deaf-friendly foods. If you're trying to hold and sign at the same time, at least for me, I can't sign and talk, or I can't sign with one hand very well, but at least if I have food in my mouth and I put my food down, and then I could talk and everybody else is like struggling, and I'm like, yep, this works very well. It's amazing. Alright, so those are a couple of memes. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, and maybe in the future I'll do some more, especially from that Twitter. That Twitter has so many good gems, but it's hard to get through them all in a good amount of time for a video. Alright, so let me know. If you have any other memes that you would like me to react to, send them to me on Twitter, and then I'll save them, and then I can react to those later. If you would like to translate this video, I have a translation link down below. All languages are amazing and help. If you enjoyed this video, share it with everybody that you know. Shares, likes, comments, etc. really help this channel and the video to grow, and I always appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I will see you later. Bye!